Alright. Mic test. I think we're doing good so far. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm gonna just kind of let chat wake up and everything else. I mean, it is a very late stream, so. I guess you would say it's more like a pre-stream, I guess. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's 6 o'clock now. Let's go ahead and try to get something done. So, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and get out of Rotato for a minute and actually go back to streaming. So, while I was gone, got my teeth done and everything else, I actually created what's called the documentation. Documentation's kind of important whenever you're trying to make some code. And this is actually publicly available to everyone who's trying to read or watch or do something with this code. So, I hope it's to y'all's liking. So this is the index file that I've created. Our challenge is basically, let's not create types. We don't use keywords or anything. So we gotta do this by hand. And by doing this by hand, we want to make sure we don't call let, var, or const. We don't want to call classes. We don't want to do anything. We want to do what our operator tells us to do, or what we can use with our operator. Sounds simple enough. That's pretty much it. To begin, let's go over what each type are. So conditioning. What do we want to do with conditioning? See, we have a conditioning array. We want to match something. And then this is our selector. And then with our conditioning match, we're pointing back up to here, by the way. But with this weird thing that we're seeing right now, this is basically a true or false thing. And I'm going to put a plus in front of that. Now, what's with these numbers in front of like a condition statement? So a condition statement, if it's true, will return 1. If it's false, we'll return 0. In this case, with this unary plus operator, if anything is true, it will return as a +1. If nothing, if it's a false, it will return a 0. So, anytime it will return a 0, this is what we have a bitwise OR operator. So these are only numerical transfers. So it will go over to the next line, which is 2 times this condition. So if it'll be a 1, it'll be a 2. Otherwise, it'll be 0. And if it is 0, we go down to our final line. And then, if this is true, it'll return a 3. Otherwise, it'll return 0. Now, why am I doing this? Well, to tell you the truth, I hate chaining with ternary operators if it's more than just true or false. So what we want to do is make our match, compare our true and false values, and return back a number that corresponds with the condition. So if it's a 1, it'll return the first proper index of the array, 2 and 3 respectively. If all of these are false, it'll return back 0, and it will be to the very first index of the array. So this is pretty useful for me in terms if I need to make multiple chains. And actually, I can prove that. So let me open up perf. Oh, aren't you just special? Oh, JS Bench. I'm silly. So we have a lot of things. We have array selector, bench testing, and all the fun stuff. So this is a little bit of a steroid case. And the only reason why I did that is because, yes. But you see what I'm talking about, right? You have a +2 times. You're basically looking at this right here. And I've done this nested because I want to make sure that if I do this multiple times, that it can handle properly. Then here is your ternary operator. which will be your true and false chaining, which is what I despise, but we could only do what we can. We have our bitwise operator down here. And then finally, we create a function that handles a numerical argument on the first, and whatever parameters are after is treated like an array. And then we select whatever our number is. Since I was a fan of bitwise earlier, that's why I just slammed it in. And we'll go ahead and run this. And I want to show you reason why that I would prefer a certain method. Believe it or not, computers really hate chaining with condition statements. They would rather like numerical arguments, especially when it comes to an array. Now, I'm going to move these two up here so you can kind of see. This is the reason why I chose an array, because it will return back a number that I need in a mathematical sense that the computer likes to process. This is what we call branchless programming, and this is very efficient than having to deal with like nested ifs, else all over the place. Like so down here. Now, why did this kind of run a little slower? Well, it's because I'm trying to use a function as an array, and why not test the cursed ability of functional programming? Well, I could just do that. Oh well. Yeah, that's mainly what I tried to do, just see what I can get by with it. Yeah. When we want to chain efficiently. That's why we have that replit there. Hell, if I want to try to run a function, all I gotta do is slap it in the array, and bada bing, bada bang. And we got what we want. Now, saying this, it's pretty important to note that this is going to be very hard to do. Because we are running as a challenge. We're not doing this the normal way. This is the kind of way that will make every developer look at you like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you coding it like this? For me, I like it to view it as a challenge. I like to go outside the commonary box. So we could just kind of go what we can. So, language style. I want to borrow the simplicity that is the C language. Just plain C, not C++, not C sharp, just C. And with C, you're stuck with creating structs, which is an object, but it has defined types. But instead, we're going to keep structs with only keys and values. And so on and so forth, which we'll go over later. Next, we have looping. Now, what does it mean to loop? For starters, we have to instead create our own kind of looping mechanism. We can't use for because it's a keyword. We can't use while because it's a keyword. And sure, we could cheat by using array methods like for each and everything else because of readability, but I'm going to pretend none of that exists for the sake of the challenge. So what we have here is called a recursive function. It will call itself until infinitum until it hits 0. I'm counting backwards because it's a little easier on the processor than trying to count upward and trying to create extra conditional statements. So counting backwards is basically having like a while reverse loop, and it functions very well. So as soon as this function starts, we immediately do a callback, and then that callback is going to return an index, which we'll use for like arrays, and count for proper counting. Then once we do, we'll evaluate the count. If it's not a 0, it will be treated as a true statement with this logical and then it will run this function in this expressive format. We have these two minus indicators in front of this count, so what it'll do is it will degrade the count and then return the count value. And then we'll return our callback. This is our callback, by the way. Or sometimes, like, people would just abbreviate as CB, and that's just a common practice, from what I've understood. So, we need to call the function back with a number that we want to decrease by, and a callback, so it should always stay. So we have an iterator here that does 10 times, and we have our index and our count. So let's copy this code. Let's whip up our developer toolkit here, and let's see what we got. As expected, we have, oh, there goes my headset, that's fine. We can make mistakes here. So, on our left side, we have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, respectively. What the hell? Oh. Oh, I see what I did. Hang on. That's not right. I figured I did something special earlier, so I'm gonna do this. And then try again. No, we're not gonna do that today. I have not wanted to crash my browser today. Stop. There we go, that's proper. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Alright, so we got this. Instead of doing it in the very beginning, we kind of just want to do it at the first sign of evaluation. So we have our regular count here on the left side, which we need to update this. Actually, even better, if we move it to the right, it should be proper. There we go. I like this already. Alright, so this is what we gotta do. If we are returning a key, we want to have a index on the right. Fuck, that's still improper. No, that's still silly. The point is, we want to make our own iterating function. There we go. That makes sense. Now it fits into our schema. All I do is probably just swap this around and call it a day, but nah. But what I want to do is create a recursive function that counts backwards. So we got our index and we got our count. Our index and count, respectively. So, we'll just go ahead and do that. If I'm not worried about much with the other count, which is a proper count, I would have just basically stuck with the index count until it hits 0. So, this is just a basic sense of the recursive function in action. It will go until it stops. Unfortunately, this has a side effect of basically stacking up memory in your RAM. So we do want to keep this limited. And of course, we're not going to go iterate over through hundreds or thousands of people. That's when it starts to kind of just suck. So at most, we'll use this for simple looping over like dinosaurs and stuff like that, which we'll be programming later. Now, just like having a for loop that has like of or in, this basically catching the object's key and or value respectively. So what we need to do is create our own special loop function that handles the object. So we'll take the object as our first argument and our callback as our second. So we need to make this simple for ourselves. So I kind of coded this in a rush when I was basically in teeth pain because I had my teeth pulled about a week ago. And we want to make this a bit simpler. So instead of inner CB, let's just do regular CB. And point it back to the main function above. That way we don't have any of that to worry about. We just worry about the key count. Actually, we just go for count up here. So the point of recursive functions, you don't want them to have as many things to carry every time. So if you got like a function that goes outside, so it points to the callback here, instead of having it let it carry every time, it performs a lot faster. So let's make this for an example. So we'll copy all this and then give it a test run. So let's clear that out. Paste this here, and there we go. We have our index, which is the number that corresponds to the object's indexing array for the key and value. So keys, values respectively. So this helps with like if you want to find key of an object or a value of an object. So if you want to do if else's and stuff like that, you could do that. For our case, we don't use it. We'll just go use for like logical OR and use ternary operators. So key, value, this is what we want to keep in an object loop. So now that we kind of understand where we're going there, let's go ahead and cancel that. And of course, I kind of played around with this, but I realized you could do other things, like you could iterate over arrays by popping the index off to using bitwise, which is really good until after the 31st bit. After the 31st bit, it crashes. Don't explain. Don't have to explain why. It just gets out of range and it doesn't do anything. Now, let's talk about objects. Just like structs, we want to capitalize the first letter of what we want to do for our object. Let's kind of make this a little simple for ourselves. I am a nester, and I will continue to nest. Within reason. I'm not going to go crazy, but it is properly indented, you silly turd. Anyway, so we have person object. Person object does a little thing of name, age, and height respectively. So this will become our parent function. Oh, we have a Cito. Hi, buddy. How you doing? It's nice to see you, Cito, to return in. How you doing, buddy? Why no chat? Oh no! Oh shoot! Hang on. I just realized something. Hang on. Pop out. Oh no. Oh no. I broke it. Okay. I need to do a little bit of a YouTube Studio thing. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, let's go to my channel real quick. Let's go to my studio somewhere. Studio. Gib. I know, right? The thing is, like, with OBS, you have to have a way to yoink the pop-up chat. Yeah, there we go. Go to video analytics. There we go. Video. Oh, it's a video link. I want to see chat. How do I view the chat? It's just awful. I want my chat. Oh, there we go. There we go. Pop out chat. Give me the link. And then we can fix that. Okay. Give me 1 second and I will assume the fix of the YouTube chat source. There we go. Let's go to properties. No, that's my VTuber. Properties. And Dapastu. And there we go. Why am I being flashed? It's supposed to be dark. Parents, dark. Pop out chat. Okay. I don't know why it's being stupid. Yeah, now it works. That's probably what I should have done. Oh, paste. Okay. Oh, I guess I'm just gonna have to get flashed. That's fine. That's fine. Everything works. It's fine. I guess I'll just have to suffer. Yeah, so you're just going to get stuck with the dinosaur in front of it for right now. So, yeah. Alright. Oh. Thank you. Thanks, Sato. I hope you see you again soon. Alright. Sugar bun? What the? No. Have fun, buddy. Stay safe. Oh my god. Why are you corrupting chat? Watch as my girlfriend wakes up and sees this. She's like, who you talking to? Who is this Sato person? It's like, yeah, he's just a silly bean. He's a photographer. He does silly stuff. Anyway. To get back to programming, we want to declare an object. By declaring an object, we want to have the first letter capitalized. Why do we do that? Because we can. But for the sake of naming conventions, it's just easier to recognize that it's an object, that it returns an object somewhere, somehow, somewhat, in some way. Back of his mind. Oh, jeez. Oh, you are a silly bean. Alright, so what do we got next? So we have a person object, we have a name, age, and height. So we can just attribute that to normal object editing, so we just do with equal sign with the Steve, age of 18, 5'6". Typical object stuff. But of course, since we're doing it in a function with parentheses as our body, we kind of have to surround this with parentheses as well. Because it just likes to be stupid. So let's kind of prove my point here by... Oh, it returns. I wonder if it's going to yell at me if... Oh, it doesn't! Excuse me. JavaScript, why are you so inconsistent? Why does it yell at me like whenever I use Node.js? It just... Oh, it's because... Oh, I get it. I was using if-else, and yeah, no. It makes a lot more sense now. Parentheses returns the value. Aha. I knew I was in the wrong. This is what happens whenever you try to learn something cursed. Sometimes you forget what you have to code. And it's okay. We're all learning here. No, this is proper. Stop doing that. Oh. I could probably just do that and yes. Blast it. Fine. Anyway. Now. Remember classes, right? We're not going to use classes for this. Instead, we're going to create our own quote-unquote class, where we still have the person as our object, but we'll take the parameters name, age, and height respectively. Now, there's a reason for this. One, for performance, because God help me, if I have to run classes in my project, it would slow down into oblivion. And I don't say it just because to say it, I have a test bench for that too! Let's go to my suites real quick. Classes optimization types. So each we have our own objects. So we have our arrow function class, which is just a simple thing that returns back a value once it's done. We have our object method, which will return back our object as if it's an actual valid object. This is our edit in where we want to select the name, age, and height of our actual object, which is kind of cheesy to do. This is our traditional class, where we have this.name equals name, this.age equals age, this.height equals height, so on and so forth. And what I would hate the most, what would make me vomit a hell ton. Then this is just your traditional object, where we just do object things. And then we just have IIFE ternary curry, which is just a wonderful way of just kind of screwing around and finding out. So, what we want to do is open up the bottom there and just kind of let it run. Let it cook. So we're going to let this cook, see how we got in terms of performance and the reason why I choose to do so. Test is almost complete. Now, the reason why I have like 99% is to help basically test all this. So I'm just going to yoink that for right now and try this again. I want to see which one is faster and why. Well, test is almost complete, which is nice. Then we want to sort. How did I do it? There we go. Oh, that's a lot prettier and darker, and why not? Nah, flashbang. I'm sorry. So, what we want to do, we see the person, the Steve object here as a original and go-to object that we want to create. So that's just basically a bench line. Our next fastest is our edit. So we can edit the object how we see fit and just run with it. Now we have our actual function here. Let me update this because we're not really returning anything. I have a feeling that's what's eating my code up a little bit. So let's bait this out and give that a try again. Alright, now let's try this again, see if it performs a little better. This is reasons why I do a lot of test benching. If I'm trying to shortcut or circumvent not used to keyword everything, I want to optimize my coding. I want to make sure that whenever I make a cursed project, I want to make sure I'm doing it very efficient. That's what I thought. Now, here's something to note. If you ever use an or and, you have to put a parentheses around your grouping operator, otherwise it would just not edit properly. So it's a matter of scoping. So our quote-unquote class is going to be this. And this outperforms the regular class by twice the amount. Now given this is console logged, which is a very expensive process. But for right now, it serves our purpose and explains why. Oh yeah, I want to go back to Replit. So yeah, that's what we do. We create a person object, person class, and that's what we gotta do. Now, you ever heard of class extends? Well, instead of doing that, I am taking the person function that returns an object, and then just stealing the name and age and height respectively from the employee. That way, we have something to play with. So we'll have the person's object as the person's object we'll call later. And then we got the employee object, which will get the salary of that employee. If we want to know about the person of the employee, we'll just call the person callback object. And then, yeah. Let's copy this and show you how it works. So we define Steve as an employee, which has that capital letter. Steve will have a capital letter because he's an object. And then we'll just return his name, age, height, and his salary. Person object will define Steve as a person, so it'll be stuff up here. So it'll be the name and age and height respectively. And then the extends, we don't want to try to do this all over again, but we want to call back the salary. So we'll call back the salary, and it would be obviously what he will make. So stuff like this, borrowing from a function that has the same properties, is a similar kind of form of extending without it being so costly. And then finally, variables. Why am I doing IIFEs? So I can do this, what we call expressive programming, which will basically just mean no curly brackets or semicolons. It's strictly synchronous as best as we can make it. We want to be very friendly with our computer, so we kind of wanted to do that. So this works the same as this, except we don't have the let, const, or var. It's within the IIFE, or immediately invoked function, and it will be kept there. So, given how we made our documentation, this is what we want to refer by when we want to make our cursed programming. And then, of course, here is the sample of the entire program. And we want to run this. Right, so we have our responses down here. What do we got? We got our height, we got our age, we got our name of our original Steve. And now that Steve had an identity crisis, his name is changed to Henry. So therefore we see here, we kept our height and we kept our age the same, but we have a Henry instead of a Steve. Now, we made our line space because we want to introduce another character. Her name is Jessica. Jessica is a student, so we want to create this kind of outlook for her. So we got person up here. We got our objects like we have originally. Instead, I'm going to point that to callback. This way, we don't have to worry about the inner CBs ever again. Make this performance compliant. And then let's run this. That's a lot better. Cool. So by making our code simple, we make it a little easier to process and work with. So now that we have like the person, we have a student. The student is a person of some kind, so we'll borrow the name, age, and height respectively. And then we'll get the grade of the student. And then the grade is going to be calculated as such. Now, this down here is what I'm talking about. When we try to select a value, we want to compare our truth and false values with additional and subtracts. So this will return 1 if it's above 60. Then it's going to add onto that if it's above 70. If it's above 70 or equal to, it'll go up and up until it can't no more. So for example, the first true value is going to be D, C, B, and A. If all of these are 0, like it's below 60, it'll return an F. Then we have our edit grade. So if we ever at one point in time want to edit her grade, we could do that. And then we have our grade object, which will return back grade. And then the letter grade, which will return back our parent student function, which has all the stuff in it. So we don't have to worry about our naming conventions and have to make our Jessica carry. We just carry the function itself and then the function respectively. So after that, we have our Jessica. She is a student. Her name is Jessica. She's 15 years of age. Her height is 165 centimeters, and her grade is 90. So we have the Steve object as before with his identity crisis, and now we have Jessica. And this is where her height, her age, and her name come from. And her letter grade is A, and her grade is B. Now, since Jessica was nice, we've kind of upped her up to 96, which is a 6-point extra credit. That's fine. But for the purpose of this demonstration, this is exactly what we done. We created our own little class. So, with that being said, now let us create our Discord object. Our Discord. I'm using Replit. You can use whatever IDE you choose. For me, Replit is very nice because I can carry this with me anywhere without having to download anything. It's all in the browser, and I just take it with me. So I want to create a new Replit and call her Orpheus Development. Oh, actually, node. And then we're going to call it Orpheus Developments. And we're going to keep this private. I don't want anybody trying to go and mess with my data stuff. So, let's create it. And then I want to go back home. I want to right tab that. And I want to right tab this. One, we got our index. We are our own creation. Then we have Arophia, our documentation that we're going to be using to refer back to if we need to go back with our cursing bits. So, cd so npm I discord.js. So that's what we'll need, is we'll need to install Discord. Now, I can make this simpler. So let's create a new file. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is gonna be a challenge. But you're right. Yeah, the compression is awful. So, how do I throw chat in while... Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I have an idea. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm gonna see if I can make some modifications and hopefully it looks better. Let's see. Gosh darn it. Because I want to put the chat on the right side. There we go. So let's go back to display capture. We're going to extend this to the full screen. And then we're going to hide the YouTube chat source for right now. And then we're going to press this. Alright, Noob Tracker. Is this a bit, better? With the code readability and everything else? I know, it's 720. I gotta figure out, if my internet company can do, 1080p with no issues. So it's a bit... I'm still learning the ropes, as it were. Ooh. I have an idea for chat. Let's get back you into this picture. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Feedbacks like these help me improve as a developer, so you guys are very much appreciated. Oh no. Oh no. Uh-oh. Where did my YouTube chat source go? Get back over here. Get back over here. Get back over here. Yeah, trust me, this is like the weirdest thing for me to do is try to edit everything on top of this. So, trying to fit the aspect ratio is gonna be fun. There we go. Squeeze you right there. That way y'all can follow along. I'm going to rename the scene to Counting. Makes it a little easier for templating. So, do you need a refresher course about what I was trying to do, Noob Tracker? Now that you can actually read it. Ah, the hell with it, I could do it. So conditioning, to simply put, I'm using arrays as an index selector, and then using the numerical branchless conditioning to select whatever value I want from the array, given that it has the proper range for it. It's like 1, 2, or 3, which is 1, 2, or 3. If everything is false, return back 0, which is your falsie. We then discussed about what I want to do when I try to program JavaScript is I want to make it as C as possible. I want to be simple. Get it? C? Simple? Never mind. So we want to keep things organized. Well, I am basically curse programming this all the way through, but it's a challenge. We want to make sure we don't have any keywords like for, of, inst, stuff like that. We don't want to do any of that. So we kind of just have to work with our brains to do what we want to do. So then I had looping, which is basically a glorified recursive functions. And then I'll take a count argument and a callback argument. Callback is what I'm going to do with an index and a count. Count is going to come back. If it's not a 0 and I'm counting backwards, it will continue to run the recursive function until count is 0. Absolute. Because this only evaluates if the number on the left is not a 0. Speaking of which, yeah, I know. That's why I'm working so hard. So, like, to make this challenge work, I gotta make sure I'm optimizing my code because I'm not using keywords. So there is no let const var, there is no for, while, or any looping. I have to do this shit the hard way. And, yeah. This is why I had to kind of work with whatever I got here. So. Yeah. I mean, this is pure by its... The function itself is pure. This isn't. Well, technically it is. Because, default parameters as function, as variable declarations. So technically, it is a pure function without side effects. Because my goal is to make sure it's input only and output respectively. I don't take in external stuff unless I need to take external stuff. Now, this is a good example about external stuff implying with the side effects. So we got our own little recursive functions on the inside, but the callback is being hoisted up above. So it helps with performance, so I don't have to carry it through the recursive function every time, but it will carry my count, my keys, my values for this object substitution of for of and for in respectively. And yes, while I realize type of is a keyword, I wanted to try to do some substitution for it, but it was awful. It was very awful. I even bench tested the substitutions and it was jank. It was pretty jank. Not gonna lie. So yeah, then we got our Steve object. And then we got what we want to do with our Steve stuff. I refuse to call code that uses... Oh, hang on. I refuse to call code that uses a double and be as an if and pure. Well, it is. It's simpler. So it's kind of like your guard clauses at the very beginning. Where it's like, if this is thing, return and just escape the entire function. Which will I have to use grouping operators to make sure that works. But this is a code challenge. This is not meant to replace a common practice of coding. This is just a, I wonder if I could do it or not. That's mainly it. Now, what I was talking about with C earlier is how we have structs. I want to emulate that behavior with JavaScript. I want to capitalize the object of a person, which will take in the parameters respectively, and then we'll just edit what we want. But of course, that would require the new keyword and everything else, so I'm not going to do that. But instead, I have a person function, which will accept the name, age, and height respectively. So this, if you recognize that there's a person and the parameters that acts like members, you recognize that this is a class, and you'd be right. But this performs significantly faster than a class. To show you what I mean. I have this to bring to you. And yes, get flashbanged. So we have our arrow function class, which, yes, I am aware that I'm using a costly console log to do all this with. But we have our age, which will edit our age respectively. And then we have our object. So we got our age, name, and height. Anything that updates, we'll update it. Otherwise, we don't. Oh, you use like I see, I see. So you do like the flashbang. Gotcha. Cool. So, yeah, I just couldn't really do flashbanging. Sometimes I just like to keep it dark so I could read whatever I make. But even then, this dark version isn't very fun. But nonetheless. I won't. Because at the same time, I don't expect you to try to cake shame me with my horrible coding practices. What I would think is thinking outside the box. I did watch a couple of Primogen videos about memory stacking and everything else and why recursion sucks a little bit. So I wanted to kind of keep it simple and make sure it performs only what it's supposed to. So, we got our classy object, our classy class. And we have our Steve, that's a classy. Now, the meat and potatoes, the reason why I say I hate classes. 121, 68. This is your class. This is the typical BS. I hate this. I hate this. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. That's true. I try to keep it at least a consistent theme. That way I know what I'm doing and I'm not backtracking. But yeah, anytime I see the word this, I vomit. I vomit so much. Because this is annoying. This is annoying. This is annoying. This is annoying. For me, I just like to call back. So go back to the parent, as it were. I used to have it, but I guess I deleted it. Yes and no. I'm still trying to learn about all of the classes stuff, like extends and everything else. But I had what you would say substitutions. And that's actually what I was about to go to next. So we have our person object again below. So we got our name, age, height, and person object. Now we have an employee class. It's going to steal from the person class. So it's going to take the name, the age, and the height respectively. And then add salary and employee object on top of that. So we're going to only use the employee call on Steve, which will have all the stuff that's from the person object on top of your salary and stuff like that. So this is kind of what I would say is a very weird case of extending a class, is by stealing a function class, quote unquote, and throwing it into another function class. Which, opinionated opinion is, it performs a lot better. And of course, you know, variables. We don't like declaring variables in our code. We just use IIFEs instead. Well, it's better than, you know, running the whole entire class archetype, though. Because, let's say, if I go back and take away the costly console log for a minute, and I'll show you the reason why. Let's take away the commas. Ah! Bye, Steve. So now let's go ahead and test it without console log, and I'll kind of show you the reason why I don't like using classes. And I'll use anything instead of it. I may try to do a test later on, the more I know about REST operators and what they actually do, to influence me how I want to substitute that. Infinity operations per second, let's go! That's what I thought about too. It's like maybe it's just not fair. So let's kind of steal that. So we'll say classy. I'm going to steal this. And then I'm going to steal another one that's... Yeah, there we go. Because, yeah, that's pretty much unfair to do a comparison like that. Steve Classy. Then we got a Steve object, so I could just nuke that. Then I'm going to steal classy edit. Copy. Paste. So we can get rid of that. Copy that out. So we got our person now. We get that person object back up there. Probably best if I just do semicolons on every single one of these now, since... And then, of course, my favorite cursed bit is the currying conditioning. Say no. Curry. Steve Curry! Alright, so our first Steve is going to be Steve Classy. Now I need to copy that about 5 times. Paste. I swear, I'm just completely new at all of this. Now we got Steve Edit, right? mouse cord is in the way. And then I'm gonna go down to Steve Class. Class. No. Class. And class. Steve, I think, is just a plain object because that's how plain Steve is. And then I think this is Steve Curry. By the way, I can't really do a set amount. Because this is what the iterator does, so I'm gonna scroll back down. Can't read property of call. BS. Okay, what am I missing? Oh! Oops. Totally a pro at work. Of course. What am I missing? Oh no. That's proper. I wonder. Classes... I wonder if I have to initiate class at the very beginning. Classy has a comma, this has a comma, that has a comma, that has a comma. That one don't, that's fine. What is wrong with this? Unexpected token. Try this again. Run. Case just a plain object of best kind errored. Oh no. I don't know how to code! Curry errored. That's why. It says unexpected I don't know what to say. I'm doing this wrong somewhere. Do I have to do this like a regular person? I'm gonna have to do this like a regular person. Because this is way too damn small for my liking. The formatting is too small! Oh god. Either way, I can't really make the unique cases like you were wanting, and it's okay. I'm going to struggle for this for a little bit, but I will keep you up to date on getting this posted and properly done. That way I'm not gonna post stream just trying to fix this. So, yeah. That's technically what I'm working on, is I'm working on IFEs, no keywords, stuff like that. So we actually have a functioning example of what I wanted to do. Oh, you just did it? Cool. I want to see. Oh, what you got? Yeah, I was struggling. I think I've put a semicolon somewhere. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I did post my JS bench somewhere. Yeah, what I kind of have to check. Oh, okay. So you threw a for loop at it. Okay. Oh, okay. That's crafty if you try to manually type it. Gotcha. It's if you have me on Twitter, just send me a DM. Cause I have a feeling I've met up with you on Twitter. When we were, I think, talking about strictly equal operator. Is that right? Maybe? Not sure. But nonetheless, here's the code that I've done. Base 64 decode that. I don't know how to do that yet. I really don't know how to do that yet. Oh, okay. So, how did we meet? Or you just happened to run into me somewhere? Or you just happen to be one of the very lucky few people who is absolutely new, and I am just now introduced to you for the first time. It's so nice to meet you. Oh. If you just say, just do the /. If you have a JS bench... Yikes. Did you use the same JS bench? Okay. Oh wait, I should be able to see the versions. Hang on. Oh, you haven't published it. Yeah, you probably didn't save it or didn't fork it. Oh no! I just realized the error of my ways. Yeah, I just realized the error of my ways. Hang on. That's why. That's why. There it is. I see. Oh. So instead of I could... okay. I gotcha. Now, is that with the console log, or is that without the console log? I kind of want to check. And did you, do it with the variable in it, or did you do the variable out of it? Research purposes. So I'm going to say no. Setup. Let count equal 100. I'm gonna do you better. While counting. While counting. I'm always a fan of reverse while loops. They're just so elegant, in my honest opinion. Like, if I'm trying to do this production-wise, I would do a little bit of hybriding of regular programming practices and curse programming. There we go. Now we should test this. Oh shit. Yeah. Abort. Abort. Abort! Oh no! It hates it. Let count equal 100. No, let I equal 100. Go, okay. It's good night to you too. And thank you for stopping by. If you're brand new, thank you for looking into this kind of code and practices. Hopefully I might do you proud someday with more cursed stuff. But yeah, that's mainly it. This is the basic documentation and the running stuff. So the running stuff is on the right. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and build ourselves a Discord bot. First, I need to make a new file. I'm going to call this one my updater or my master. This is now a master bat file with, I think, go. Oh no, I forgot what my coding was. Let's go ahead and steal something from my library. I'm going to steal this. No. Save. This is what I want. I'm going to steal title. Okay, so let's create our title. Master batch file executable. Echo. Let's go ahead and update. Call node Discord.js. Permission denied. Okay, so okay. Okay. Okay, so wine master batch. Core dumped. Okay. This is going to be interesting while I'm trying to figure out how Replit uses batch. For the intents and purposes of this argument, I am going to keep continuing as if I'm coding this properly. So that if I were to use a cloud PC, this should just copy paste in very well. So let's go ahead and work on our Discord bot. We want to make a Discord.js org. Yay! Let's add questionable stuff. Oh, that's why. That's why it yelled at me. Okay. I did a stupid. So let's go to our guide. Alright, so we want to try to sort out the commands that we want to do. So with Discord, we have different kinds of things we want to play with. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit to see what we have. We have modals, which allows like pop-ups and stuff to appear in front of a user. So we want to make sure we have a specific thing for that. So we'll copy this down later. And then we have context menus. So let me understand what this is. Yeah, it's user context menu. Models is nice. Select menus. We want to create a thing for that. Let's see. Component reactions. If anything, I don't want to use async await. I want to make this as synchronous as possible. Okay. So we're going to copy this main file down. And we're going to edit the way we want to edit this. We also need a config file. So config folder. Config will have a file called API JSON. This would be our Discord JS. Config. Yay! It remembers! Absolutely perfect. I love how it carried the concept. That's great. That's absolutely perfect. It knows what I want now. I have basically tortured the Replit bot and I am happy. Cool. Now. Yoink. So we want to create slash commands. So let's create a new. We're going to move that to the right. And then folder commands. Folder is plain. this would be a typical plain command file structure. So we're just going to add ping. Yes. What the? What? No. No. We're not doing that. No, sir. No. Nope, 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 nope. So we're going to yoink this. We're going to paste it right here, and we're going to edit this. So we are going to have... and I'm going to take an emergency hold reading up. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up in a neat little bow. Let's continue at least building the structure of everything, and then I'm going to go ahead and leave this project for the next 2 weeks from now, which is going to be my next stream. But for now, we're going to yoink this real quick. Slap it right here. And I'm going to yoink this. Copy. Paste. I'm going to take this away. We're not going to be using that. Now, I don't want async at all because that's still considered a keyword and that does break our challenge. So instead, what I want to do is cool. It kind of knows what I want, which is good. And of course, if there is an error, kind of need to make a catch. Cool beans, this works. I hate the new keyword, but for now, with the whole Discord API layout, I think I'm going to let this slide. There is a way to do it with a JSON object or a purified object, but that requires advanced knowledge that I just can't spawn right now. However, this shall work for our premise. Oh, that's just cringe. That is gross. Please, no murder. Why do you format so ugly? Why? Why are you two-spacing? That's annoying. That's really annoying. I don't like that. Whatsoever. It's doing a two-space, not a four-space. Ratblit, what you doing to me? For now, we'll leave it as it is, because we're taking away async and away all this. So it's just basically synchronous as much as we can make it to be. So we have this. This is our regular stuff. We need to go back to our index and work with our slash commands. Command handling. Just gonna copy. Now we're going to make this a little bit simpler. We're going to try to... Actually, let me make a new folder. This is going to call library. add a file called modules. Yes. This modules, I want to create a few things. So it's just a carryway. Module exports. So let's call our loop. We're just going to have our count and our callback. Callback is going to have our count. Count plus 1. Count. Why did it suggest that? And it's weird. Why? Why you do this? Carry. This is gonna be like the weirdest cursed way of doing a modules export carrying this out. I just realized that. Carry. Okay, this might be a little bit more tinkering than I need to do for today. I'm going to postpone this for a little while, kind of work it up with the Replit a little bit, and get to understanding how I kind of need to circumvent module exports if I want to execute and bring stuff out. Meanwhile, I will let you guys simmer up, have fun, and do whatever y'all do best. So, meanwhile, while I'm getting things ready to go, feel free to kind of just like and subscribe, and hopefully, let's try to get this better round, and hopefully not flashbang you guys with the color of this chat. And then hopefully we should be able to get back soon. Until then, have fun, stay safe, and enjoy yourselves. God bless.